Hello, everyone. And I think we are live and welcome to our very first Paseo Project Facebook Live event. I'm really happy to be here and to share with you all our new campaign. My name is Matt Thomas. I'm the Executive Director of the Paseo Project. And today I'm joined by Jillian Joyce as we launch our Census 2020 campaign. Jillian is the Principal Rio Chiquito Research and Consulting is a principal with the Rio Chiquito Research and Consulting and is the co-coordinator with the Taos County Census Outreach Team. So the Paseo Project is partnering with the Taos County Census Outreach Team to encourage everyone in our community to make their census count. So we are calling for all our artists and creatives in town of all ages to create a poster, an image, a song, a video, anything creative, and post it on social media with the hashtag Taos County Counts. So this is going to be a 2-week initiative campaign, and we invite everyone to participate and like your friends' artwork and stories, and also to share and comment. And we will be doing daily raffle prizes from purchased gift certificates from local businesses like coffee shops, restaurants, and gift shops. So all you have to do is create an image, a video, or draw it, photograph it, or make it out of macaroni, post it on Instagram or on Facebook using the hashtag Taos County Counts, and we'll look for it, and we'll do our raffles every day. This is open for all our Taos County residents. And so we look forward in seeing all the creative things that you guys have to share. And we need everyone to complete their census, and all of you guys can help us. So the reason I brought in Jillian is because she's incredibly knowledgeable about why the census and why this is so important right now. And so we are really happy to have Jillian. Thanks for being with us today, Jillian.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. So I just have some questions. I thought we could just sort of have this open conversation, but let's just start with the basics. Like, what is the census?
So the census is a decennial count. Every 10 years, every year that ends in a 0, we count every single person living in the United States, regardless of citizenship status. On top of just counting everybody, the census also collects a little bit of demographic information about all of us that helps determine funding and programming and how we take care of people of different demographic backgrounds. The census, Thomas Jefferson was the guy who came up with the idea that we should be doing this. It's mandated in the Constitution that we do this every 10 years. And it's administered by the United States Census Bureau, which is a nonpartisan government entity. The census, the way we're experiencing it on the ground right now, is there's a bunch of people moving through our community and dropping off packets at our doors. That started on March 12th, and our census workers will be on the ground in New Mexico through October 31st.
Right, so people have time. So what exactly are they asking for? Because I know we keep hearing it's just only 10 questions.
So it is kind of only 10 questions. When you get your packet, you're going to be like, this is a lot more than 10 questions. Because they ask those 10 questions in kind of some funny ways. There's some follow-up questions, and they're asking those 10 questions for every single person in your house. Up to, I think you can fit about 10 people on the form. And if you call in or do it online, you can account for even more people in your household. So the things they're asking about, these aren't exactly the questions they're asking, but what they're asking about is the number of people living or staying in your home on April 1st of this year. They want to know whether your home is owned with or without a mortgage, rented or occupied without rent. They want to know a phone number for someone in the house in case they have any issues with your form. And they want to know some sort of private information, but you get to give your own self-identified answer. Your self-identified name, sex, age, date of birth, race, and ethnicity. And they also want to know the relationship of every single person in the home.
Right. And so, I mean, some of that's pretty personal. And from what I understand is it's okay to put person one, person two. I don't have to put the name that was given to me on my birth certificate. I can self-identify in other ways.
Absolutely. So if someone has concerns about needing to keep or wanting to keep their information private, you can use a pseudonym. You can use a false phone number. The main reason not to do that is that all of the information that the Census Bureau collects is kept completely confidential for 72 years. I don't know why 72 and not 70 or 75, it's 72. After 72 years, your individual data is released for the very first time. And it's for history, it's for your family. It's so that we know where you were and your story goes down in history, and programs like ancestry.com can help your great grandkids find you down the road.
So I actually didn't get my census packet delivered. I think it was just last week. Why is Taos so late?
So Taos is experiencing, New Mexico overall is having a very different experience of the census than most of the country. At this point, more than 96% of the country has received their census form. In Taos, it's much lower, probably 40% right now has received their census form. And that is because, as all of us who live here know, New Mexico is different than a lot of areas of the country. And rural communities are very different than urban communities. And so the issue we're having is that the Census Bureau has to hand deliver packets to households in a large portion of the rural communities of New Mexico. And that process started right as COVID fell down into the world. And so while the rest of the country got their forms through the mail delivered directly to their house, we did not. And that is because the Census Bureau needs to count us exactly where we live. If they sent, I'm a good example, if they sent something to my PO box, then the only knowledge they'd have about where I am is El Prado. But I don't actually live in El Prado. I live in Las Cordobas. And that's really important that they know that I'm in Las Cordobas and not El Prado, because I'm not using the El Prado Water and Sanitation District. I'm not in the same school district as people in El Prado. And they need to make sure that I am getting the services and that my family is getting the services we need where we actually live.
Right. And that leads me to my next question is, why is the census important? Why is this important for us to participate in?
So the census is important for so many reasons. I have been working with census data forever, and I still can't quite fathom how much census data touches our lives every single day. First of all, the census it's the first step in participating in the democratic process, really. The basic census population numbers that are collected are used to determine our voting districts. And I know we all know there are issues with the way our voting districts are determined, but this is the very first step that each of us can take as a citizen to at least have good data underlying whatever decisions are made about those districts, so that there is the potential for them to be designed in a truly egalitarian way. In this census, we're not really looking at voting districts at the federal level changing, but in Taos County, we're probably going to see redrawing of our districts for our county commission seats and our school board, and a very good chance that our districts for the legislature, for the House, will be redrawn, and potentially for the state Senate may be redrawn. So this has a major effect on the way we participate in local politics.
Mm-hmm. And there's even more too, because I mean, can you talk a little bit more about what we miss out on?
Absolutely. So census numbers underlie the funding formulas for so many federal programs. All total, 316 federal programs. And we can probably make a nice meme that we can post on Facebook so that you guys can see all of those 316 programs. These are programs like the road right outside that's being redone. That we have enough funding to do that is based on how many people the Census Bureau is identifying as using that road. Funding for our schools, funding for our school lunch programs, all those kids that are getting meals delivered to them in their neighborhoods right now, the only way that's happening is because of funding that is determined using census numbers. SNAP, WIC, Medicare, Medicaid, TANF, Pell Grants, student loans, affordable housing, funding that builds our fire stations. We definitely got at least one new fire station in the county I know of in the last decade, thanks to in San Cristobal, thanks to them being able to say there's enough people living in San Cristobal that we need our own fire station. Yeah. Our police departments, our community centers, our public buildings, so much. I could go on forever about all the different programs that touch us every single day that are funded using census numbers. Right. Also, census numbers are used at every level of every organization. I bet Paseo uses census numbers as you develop your programming and you write your grants. I'm right next door to the Bridges Project that helps so many Taos kids get into college. They use census numbers to develop their programs and get funding for their programs. I wrote our county economic development plan and comprehensive plan, co-wrote the comprehensive plan, and all of our plans for how to move our community forward rely on us having a good understanding of who our community is, who's here, what are the demographics, and what do they need? What kind of programs do we need to be designing for us that will really work for who we are on the ground? And, you know, I think also really importantly, I can't tell you the number of times that I've been going through census data and have been brought to tears by the stories that come out of these numbers. The things we can learn about who we were as a community in the past, who we are as a community today, and how all of that information informs who we want to be as a community in the future. Yeah.
I mean, because we talked about money and we're talking about data, but you're just starting to really talk about this, is how you could speak more to how the census and marginalized communities and communities of color it is deeply interrelated.
Yeah, our communities of color and our disenfranchised communities, whether that's deep rural communities, whether that's communities struggling in poverty, communities, populations that are unhoused, our marginalized communities are consistently underrepresented in the census. A really good map. Can we pull up the cool map of hard to count populations? There. So we have this great map that shows what the hardest to count communities in the nation are. First of all, the thing you notice first is that, boy howdy, New Mexico is the hardest to count. But if you look more broadly, the areas that you'll see that are hard to count are, the biggest thing you see is that they tend to be communities of color. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, here in New Mexico, we have a lot of communities of color and disenfranchised communities that are really reticent to engage with the federal government because we have dealt with, our communities of color have been dealing with being mistreated by the federal government all the way back to the territorial era and the failures of the federal government to respect the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And those challenges have continued into the present day in ways that so many of us are painfully aware, down to the detention camps in the southern part of our state right now. So there's a lot of reason to be concerned and mistrust participation in these federal programs. But the problem, what happens is when those communities are underrepresented, those stories don't get told. The needs of our communities are not as well understood, and the needs of the majority Anglo, comfortable with the federal government communities are the stories that get told in our policy and in our funding programs. And for policy and funding programs to truly meet the needs of the communities as they exist on the ground, we need to know the stories and the sizes of those and the challenges that those populations face. And I have two really good examples here of stories that we've learned from the two previous censuses that say a lot about what our community needs to be working on. One is that between the 2000 census and the 2010 census, the population of Taos County, who identifies as Hispano, Northern New Mexican, Norteño, essentially the Hispanic population who had the border cross them, as opposed to the population who crossed the border, that population decreased by a stunning 19% over a decade. And when you dig deeply into those numbers, you see that the people who are leaving in our Hispano community are folks who are at an age where they are trying to have a career, where they are starting families, and they're not finding opportunities in our town, the town that their ancestors built. And they're being pushed out to Albuquerque and Denver and Los Angeles to find greater opportunity. And we as a community owe our community members the economic development efforts, the housing programs, and the services they need so that our community members can stay in the community and have the quality of lives that they deserve. Another really stunning number that we learned looking at the 2000 and 2010 census is our population who identifies as Mexican or Mexicano grew by 170%.
That's amazing.
Our Mexican identifying community now makes up pretty close to 20% of our community. And yet we only have two organizations with teeny tiny staffs, one with no staff and one with like a staff of two, serving our Mexicano community. And so many of our organizations that serve the community broadly are not aware of these numbers, and they are not making the necessary efforts to make sure that we are serving 20% of our community who identify as Mexicano.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of stuff, and this is the story of our community. We are now a community with a huge Mexicano population. This is an amazing cultural evolution that's happening that we should be aware of and celebrating and embracing, and we wouldn't necessarily know that if we didn't have access to these amazing numbers that we get out of the Census Bureau.
So it is really important that we help everyone participate in the census. What would you tell, or what should we tell people who haven't been contacted yet? They want to participate. They need to know where to go.
Right. So, like I said, Census Bureau workers are on the ground right now, dropping off packets. We are anticipating that everyone will have a packet by the 22nd of this month. There may be, we'll see if that works. The world is ever changing these days. But hopefully everyone will have their packet by the 22nd. We would really like to encourage everyone to respond online or by phone or by mail. For those, if we don't respond that way, what's going to happen later in the summer is that census workers are going to come knocking on our doors. We all tend to like our privacy and would prefer to not have people we don't know knocking on our doors. Also, in the era of COVID, the extent to which we can keep person-to-person contact to a minimum, and the extent to which we cannot potentially be turning our census workers into vectors of disease moving through our community is really helpful. So when people get their census packet, fill it out as soon as possible, and then nobody gets visited.
And we've posted a lot of links on our website, paseoproject.org, under our census project. So there's also other websites out there that people can go to learn more, because there's so much more information, but this has been really great. I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone out there has learned a lot. If you do have questions, please let us know, contact us, as well as the other resources that are available online. And thank you, Jillian, for really helping us better understand how important it is and why we participate in the census, and why we should encourage our entire community to participate. And this Come to Your Census project we're doing in collaboration with Taos County really falls into favor in terms of using art and our creative community to help bring the knowledge and the attention to everyone. And so we encourage all the artists and creatives out there to post your image. I actually want to share, Jillian, one of these great images that we got from a local artist. This is Diana Suazo, and it's just this beautiful image.
That's awesome.
And so we encourage you to look through your art. What are some art that really represents who we are as a community, our identity, who you are, the different messages, the different ways in which the census contributes to our community, whether it's health, education, transportation. Go ahead and just share your artwork, and be sure to tag it with Taos County Counts, and we'll be watching for it. We'll be looking on Instagram and Facebook every day. We'll be doing a raffle, giving out gift certificates from our local businesses, and we hope everyone gets out there and participates. So thank you, Jillian, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you so much to the whole Paseo team. We are so excited about this project, and to all of you artists and storytellers out there, you're better at telling these stories than any of us possibly are. So thank you so much for your contribution to the effort. We really appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, we'll check back in with you probably later. And yeah, everyone, let's see what happens on Facebook and Instagram. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.